Everyone, welcome back. We're here again with our special guest, Mr. Leon. And we're going to cover another question from the audience, a male question. And we have him here to give us the male perspective to help us remember that we're actually not alone, despite the gender differences, the sex differences, and how we process things differently. But yeah, so we can hear their perspective and remember that it's not our fault, it's not even their fault, and that we don't have to make any assumptions or that's all. Okay, here you go. Sean is going to introduce the topic.
Yeah, I don't even know if he's a special guest. I feel like he's family. Um, I feel like we just got to say Uncle Leon is in the building now from now on.
Right. Hmm.
Relative, yes.
Yeah, Uncle Leon is with us. Okay, so this one said, "Good morning. I just wanted to tell you how amazing the group is. The last 2 years have been the hardest of my life. Before that, I always thought I was okay. I knew there were family traits that I had to break. Certain things I thought were normal were very toxic. I thought this is just what every family deals with. But when my cousin passed away because of drugs in 2019, and my whole family only thought about themselves, their pain, and who could comfort them, hit, it was me. I finally got enough. Every time he got clean, they would be right there with the drugs again. Unfortunately, he loved his family so much he couldn't turn them away. His death hit me incredibly hard. Sad and crying for over a year every day, fits of rage, so much anger. I started seeing a therapist, and it turns out I'm bipolar. They say it has a genetic component, but trauma is what triggers it. And she thinks it was my cousin's death. I've been doing everything I could to heal from my past and control the mental health, but I still feel like I'm breaking. It's nice to have an outlet. So thank you so much for having me in this group. And so it was morning. I saw it and I was just start crying. And I said, wow, I'm honored and crying. Let me get myself together to respond. And so I responded to her to affirm her, to let her know her strength in voice text because I'm driving at this point. So I had to be safe. And then her response to me was, yes, you could talk about it. I'm not shy about talking about what I went through. One of the other things in voice text that I told her is be mindful that some children that have bipolarism can come from having a narcissistic parent. So just make sure you're not their supply. So she's responding back to that. She says, yes, you could talk about it. I'm not shy about what I went through. I hid so much pain from the people in my life, even my family. I couldn't speak on how I felt because they would get mad. So I had to tell them things like, I know you tried your best, which might be true. I'm fully open now. I've done months of therapy. I also have a psychiatrist and a spiritual healer. When I tell you I'm trying any and everything, I mean it, laugh out loud. I have not talked to my mother in 10 years, but I managed to write a letter to her without it sounding like I'm attacking her. And I even told her I wished her the best. At the beginning of the year, I had nothing but hate for her, didn't even want to speak her name. But I realized that was my only burden. So with that letter, I was letting go of the pain, the anger, the hurt, all of it. I said, wow, you've done a lot of work. This is super dope. I'm proud of you for getting to the point of forgiveness. That's huge. It doesn't have to be reconciliation to be forgiveness. And she said, I want to teach my son a healthy, happy, loving, forgiving love. I can't do that if I don't have love myself and have compassion for others. But I'm also not always this positive. There's a number of days where I'm just like, fuck everyone. And I said, laugh out loud, and that's okay, legit. I've had that last night and I had to regroup. The difference is we go back, apologize to our children and those we love. We process with them and we move forward instead of leaving them with that pain. And you are a great mom. She said, honestly, it feels so good to actually have other people that I could talk to about this stuff. She said, of course, I have friends, but I feel like they don't get it. And when the whole bipolar thing, I took a lot of anger out on them, but they stuck around, so they have to love me, laugh out loud. I'm also in this bipolar support group, but sometimes it gets intense and I can't handle it. And I said, oh, one day you can post in the group that's fighting these symptoms also. And yeah, safe groups are everything. And she says, I think the turning point was on November 4th. I was going to kill myself. The dark place just completely took over. I dropped off my son at his dad's and was going to drive myself into a building as fast as I can. I thought about how fast I had to go, and I didn't want to make sure, and I wanted to make sure I didn't hurt anyone else. I pulled over in a KFC and I just cried and cried. I don't want to die. I don't want to leave my son. And I need to control that dark place as much as possible. And I just said, oh, Jesus, wow, we will absolutely do it. I'm so glad that you caught yourself. So many don't. And man, my heart is legitimately with you in that season and just what you carry from that. And she said, but it's all going to get better. I'm going to be better. I'm going to raise a better child now. And maybe I'm going to be able to help other people get better too. So go ahead, guys. I'm going to let you guys go in.
So I'm sorry, Susie, did you want to go first?
Oh, please go ahead.
My turning point in my therapy was when I went into make sure I have both on the screen. When I went into therapy, pissed off, like my mom. And this little social worker was like 5 feet tall, 110 pounds. She said, you need to be mad at the drug. My mother was addicted to crack. She said, that's not your mother that you're mad at. You're mad at the drug. And that's when I was like, wow, I never thought of it like that. I've been mad at my mother since I was 11. Losing the house, getting us back, moving us in the apartment, losing us, giving us up, and boom, I joined the Navy and I was gone. I will tell you this, that young lady that you talked about is doing a lot of hard things. But the hardest thing that she hasn't done yet, like Susie mentioned, we can talk about forgiveness. It's easy to say, I forgive you, but do you really mean that? The hardest part is showing forgiveness. What she needs to do, and this was hard for me, what she needs to do is go to her mother, hug her, kiss her, and say, Mom, I love you. I had to do that because I sat back and thought about my mother's life, and I found out that my mother lost 6 people in 3 years, okay? Her brother was murdered. He was the one that was touching my private parts. Her father died. Her brother was murdered in 79. He had his head blown off. Her father died in 82. My parents, she lost her husband in 79. Then she lost me and my sister in 79. That's 5 people. And when she lost her father in 82, she lost her mother's relationship. They never really had a relationship. So that's 6 people in 3 years. That's one person every 6 months, leaving your life. People can't stand up to that type of pressure. I know I couldn't. So what did she do? She started smoking crack to mask her pain. She started smoking crack to take her away from reality. The reality was she lost 6 people in 3 years. She lost one person every 6 months. I was mad at my mother. My sister was mad at my mother. My father was mad at my mother. Her mother was mad at her. But nobody did the research and say, you know what? She's hurting. She has are you talking about pain? I'm not talking about a cut. I'm not talking about getting punched or slapped. I'm talking about actually losing people, losing one person every 6 months. Okay. I started therapy in January, and I started therapy in 1987. That's when I was diagnosed as a 21-year-old little boy. Okay. I stopped therapy from 87 to 2014. I went back because I was forced. In December 2014, I went to see my first psychotherapist, and I walked out of her office after 18 minutes. I was forced to go back in January 2015. And that's when I saw my second psychiatrist and my first social worker. And that's when she said, your mother is not your mother while she's on those drugs. You are mad at the drug. You're not mad at your mother. Tell me about your mother. And that's when I was crying. I had snot bubbles come out of my nose because I never thought about my mother in that way. And then I had to forgive my mother. But by then it was 2 years too late. She was already deceased. I told her I loved her when she was on her deathbed. And when I flew to California, my sister had my mother in hospice. When I walked into that hospital, the nursing home, my mother smiled, but she was under morphine. And the nurse said, you have to be her son because your mother has been here for 6 months and she has never smiled. And that was another wake-up call for me. That was 2013, 3 years before I went through therapy. So I went into therapy with that mindset, with that thought. My mother was always doting on me. My sister seemed to think my mother was a narcissist. Maybe so, whatever. But I tell people narcissists are created by being a product of our environment. We are created by being raped, molested, abused, kicked to the side, bullied. God doesn't create narcissistic people. We're not born that way. We are created that way. And some of us never get help, like myself. I never got any help. So moving back forward in therapy, once I told my mother I loved her, she passed away a week later. Thank God I was able to say that to my mother. I'm closer to my mother now in death than I was when she was living. And I'm thankful for that. That young lady needs to go to her mother, Mom, I love you, and ask her, what happened to you? My mother never told me, but we did have sit downs, and I understood my mother. Instead of being angry, instead of being pissed off, instead of talking about all these things, I'll forgive her. And I went to therapy, but her therapy, that's one stage, that's one step. She needs to be rehabilitated, and her rehabilitation is going to see her mother, going to face that anger, going to face that pain, going to face her mother leaving her or whatever her mother did. Sit down, face it, kiss your mother, tell you love her. And if it only takes 2 minutes, go and do that, do your part. And maybe you leave, you walk away. Maybe at that time, your mother might tell you why she acts the way that she acts. But it's 2 to 3 phases of therapy: the rehab, the therapy, and then facing it and fixing it.
Thank God for mute, because my original trigger came up like, wait, what's going to happen to her if she go there and then her mother still rejects her? And you answered that at the end. So the question is gone. And I understand, and Susie can verify. Leon, I told you, you got to teach me how to tell my story without saying about family members in my life, because I've healed through my trauma. And I told Leon that I honor and love everybody in my family. And if anybody come in my family members because of my trauma, the way in disrespectful tone, they better look out, because Shonda Bear coming, and I'm coming with them traumas towards you, because you're not going to disrespect my family, because I understand that it was their trauma that caused that. It wasn't them. And so, right. Yeah, I definitely understand it. I agree. Susie, I said the reason I agree is because I had to do the exact same thing as I hit my next transition season. And it was funny because Susie sat through with me as I processed that pain and that trauma. We did it together. And then for her to see me come out of it and say, now I have to go and have a relationship with this person, or at least go and have a conversation. And she was like, no, that's not wise. That's not a good thing at all. But I felt it. And so the other part that I will add to that is, you'll know when you're supposed to do it, because you're going to feel that prompting in your healing. Mm-hmm. And listen, what I had to do when I felt it as a woman, I brought someone that made me feel safe to go with me. And so what you would have to do is, even though that this is something, when you get to the prompting and it's time for that to happen, you need to reach back and have a safety net and already be prepared and have your village around you, where if she can't receive your forgiveness and have it, you still surrounded by love, so you don't go back to being that wounded child again.
And you did your part. You did, even if you get rejected, we talk about taking the higher road, being the bigger person. Okay, let's see if you can really do it. Right?
Facts, but you gotta do it in the process. You can't do it on your own, Mike. You go up in there thinking you gonna say, I forgive you because you did this, because you did that, because you ain't ready yet. You will know when it's time in the work.
You will know. So, yeah, I mean, I always talk about therapy. I've talked to women that have been in therapy for 15 years, right? I said, and I told her, I said, it's no longer therapy. Now you're abusing yourself, because she was in therapy. And I said, listen, when you go to therapy, what do you talk about? We talk about gym, we talk about gym, we talk about gym. I said, then when you leave therapy, you thinking about gym, you think about gym. You don't even go to your rehab. What's rehab, Leon? With your girlfriends that are happy, that are loving, that are caring, that want to celebrate you, that want to uplift you. You go through therapy. A lot of people go through therapy. When I was in therapy, you know what I do? I was a command master chief. I go through therapy, get out at 11 o'clock, go home, go to sleep. Instead of going and being around people that can make me feel good about myself. It wasn't about stroking my ego. It wasn't about my narcissistic ways. It was like being around positive people, reinforcing what I had just gone through. Yo, man, I just left therapy. Well, how did it go? Blah, blah, blah. Okay, man, I agree with you. You know, women go through therapy, and men, people go through therapy, then they go back to work, or they go home, or they go around the same people that cause them to go into therapy. There's no rehab. You got to go through therapy, and you got to rehabilitate yourself. I don't need rehab. I'm not addicted to drugs. Like I told you earlier, you are addicted to a man or a woman. You're addicted to anger. You're addicted to trauma bonding. You're addicted to being love bombed. You have an addiction. It's just that simple. It's not simple like that. And it's not hard to do, but you gotta, oh, I do need rehabilitation. Then what is that? Go drink some tea with your friends. Go do yoga. Go walk with some positive people. Go tell somebody you love them. Go give a homeless person a hamburger. I don't know what it is. Anything that makes your heart feel good after your heart been drained in therapy for 2 hours. Anything. Go feed some squirrels. Go feed some ducks. I tell women, you know, I did a video, I was their drug. And I trigger women. I don't do it on purpose. Maybe I remind them of their ex-husband, ex-boyfriend because I'm bald head, I got a beard, a big nose, big teeth. I don't know. But I like talking about these things, and this is who I used to be. So therapy, you got to get rehab after that. This is rehab for me, right here talking about this is my rehab. Let's call it what it is.
This is Susie. This is our rehab. This is Susie. We're just bringing people into our normal conversation. None of this has been rehearsed between me, Susie, or Leon. We literally got on the phone, introduced each other, told each other who we all were, and this is what you're getting because this is our rehab. And because we've realized this is a part of our purpose. All of us on this live are all veterans. We all have our own income. We all have our own way of life. We need nothing but for our people to heal because it breaks our hearts. That's it. That's all we got. Go on in there, Susie. Go on in there, child.
What? Yeah, no, I just met this guy 20 minutes ago, and we're vibing. All right, so the things from the initial message exchange that you had with this woman, right? And I'm so glad that Leon talks about this because therapy is not like, it's not an isolation, it's not the only thing, right? And it's not the solution. And so I was really inspired when she said that she's willing to try anything and everything, because it seems like the opposite of what most people are only going to try something else if their therapist tells them to do it. And oh, my therapist told me that, like, they're the expert on your life. No, there's someone you see an hour a week or two, whatever, every other week. Okay. The other things that she said that really struck, and another like solidarity piece with your community and my communities, is that the normalization of toxic family traits. So we think because we see everybody else doing it, or our parents will reiterate, yeah, this is how things were for me. And this is like, yeah, so white people won't say it's our culture, but for us, it's our culture. It's because you're Mexican and you have to listen to me and you have to do that, right? And you can't have boundaries and whatever. Not in those words, but I do have to do what my mom says, period. That's our culture. But yeah, so these normalized toxic traits that we have to start being really honest with ourselves and being able to let go of things that don't serve us. Especially, we have to be really cognizant when we're in this time of addressing our issues and being able to heal. And in order to not reproduce those things for other people. And it heals your whole family. I think it heals your ancestors when you do this. I don't think it's just moving forward. I think it goes backwards. Well, as we understand, so-called. Okay, enough of the kooky stuff. The final thing I wanted to say, no, I have two more. So she was talking about loss. And so Leon, very, very good comparison, or how we're all going through something. And the feeling of isolation that we have when we're in this position or these processes, it's really unfortunate because if we were able to communicate with each other, we would understand that actually everybody's going through something, and that's the reason for all of this to begin with. So the feeling of isolation, and that's why healing only happens in community, right? Because it's by understanding that we're all literally going through the same thing. It might just look a little bit different. It might be resonating and like manifesting a little bit different because of these dichotomies or whatever, the perceived differences about us. You really, once you realize that you're not alone, it opens everything up. And so even feeling isolated from your mother. And then once you learn the things that she's been dealing with, it does help you to humanize her or whomever, so that you're able to fit a little bit more of that forgiveness piece into where they stay in your heart. So it's not a black, hard, cold, empty, like tight space, that it becomes a little bit softer, that it becomes more manageable, that it becomes something that you can give love to yourself. And once you're able or ready to forgive, to them too, right? And then in the stages of that, she mentioned, very sorry you had to go through that. The suicidal ideation is actually really common. And I go so far as to say that for some people, it might be what's necessary. It's like your body's last ditch effort to really get you to pay attention to the hurt that you're holding on to the pain that you've been carrying, so that it's like slapping yourself in the face with your, like, wake up already, like deal with these problems, because I can't do it for you anymore. Your body is aching, you're acquiring diseases and, diagnoses. So instead of just like stuffing it down, I've experienced this personally, the suicidal ideation. And yeah, it's the last thing you ever want to get to. And I think that's when it happens, is because we've just become too good at avoiding. We've become master avoiders, and your body is literally, like, they call it a cry for help in society in general when someone says that they want to kill themselves. But that's what your body is, and your mind, if you think that they're separate things, are doing when you're feeling that low. It's unfortunate that you have to feel that, but it just means that you were so good at hiding from these things, but you can't hide forever. It's either going to swallow you, or you're going to come and find someone that you can talk to and be able to brainstorm ways that you can let go of this stuff, because you deserve to.
Letting go is crucial. People don't understand, when you don't let go, you make yourself sick on the inside. I held on to anger. I was very vindictive. I was like, "Rah!" But yeah, letting go is very, very important.
My God. Thank you guys for sharing this, because I know there's hundreds, thousands, millions that just need to hear from regular people who have the successful look on, but in the inside is dying. And just thank you so much for sharing that. One of our other people who wrote a letter before, she responded back again. I love her so much. She says, I have to admit, one, I didn't know I was in a depressive episode. 2, thank you for listening to me and talking things out. And 3, I learned in one of those episodes, I cannot ask for anything and be happy. Where I am now anyway. Maybe in time, but not right now. Usually if I got to the episode, things have piled up and only lead to nonstop thinking. So even if they do what I need, it will be like, oh, well, why couldn't you just do this before? Laugh out loud. So you know what I mean? So I'm gonna stop babbling. And I just read that because it really resonated exactly what you both were saying. And Susie, you just hit on be in community with people because we're all connected. In this age of digital age, Leon joked that he's not that good at it. I definitely ain't good at it. But Susie is amazing with it compared to how we operate. And so what I love and I cherish and I honor is that even if you can't get those relationships in physical connection where you are, especially in this COVID season, that you're able to get a piece of healing, what you need from us in these conversations and move forward. And don't you ever think that you cannot ask a question from the 3 of us because you feel like it's dumb or stupid or no one will understand or whatever other lie that is coming on in your head or been telling you over and over and over and over again. It wouldn't matter. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. I'm telling you now, it's a liar. And you are welcome and allowed to chat with us because we love chatting back with you. And even if we don't get back to you, because I got a feeling that we're going to get real busy real fast because with us all being veterans, we have been in relationship with multiple people that need this, and then they've been in relationships with people that need this, and they've been in relationship. I see us getting busy real fast. Still get it out if you need to get it out, because you can't keep that poison in. But as Leon said, and as Susie said over and over again, get you a safe therapist. And listen, I tell people a therapist is the same way as a relationship. If y'all don't vibe, that ain't your therapist, boo. You get the one that vibe with you, and that therapist can only take you as far as that therapist is willing to go. And once if there's still more work to be done, then it's time for you to go to another level. And that's okay too, but we'll have those conversations in the future. But you ain't got to be scared anymore. You're not by yourself.
That's right.
Yeah, Mr. Leon, do you have any, I keep calling you Mr. Do you have anything else that you wanted to add to this conversation?
Leon is fine. No, no, next session, whatever you guys do, let me know. I'll see if my calendar works to talk to my manager. But you know, the important, the important thing is rehab, therapy, and then rehab. You know, I've seen people fail therapy, stay in it years. And I talk about rehab. What is rehab? I'm not addicted to drugs. Yes, you are, you know. They go, oh, so don't just stop at therapy, go through rehab too. And find a way to give, meet that person, see him, tell them you love them, hug them, kiss them, and walk away. Or they may hold you and say, I needed that. I've been waiting for you to hug me for 10 years. You never know what can happen. Either way, regardless of what happened, guess what? That's what's going to happen. There's going to be a change. They're going to embrace you and hug you, or remain the same, but you change because you did your part. And let it go. That was hard for me. I couldn't face my family and my mother and friends that I'd wronged or they wronged me. I was like, my therapist was like, you need to go do it. I'm like, no. I was like a little kid in her office. Yeah, I don't want to go say I'm sorry. And I did. I was like, that wasn't even that bad. It actually felt pretty good, you know? I hadn't cried in years, and I'm crying like a little baby. It felt good to cry. It's like my eyes weren't swollen anymore because I was drowning, you know? So I had to do that, but a lot of men won't do it. But that's all I have to say. Thanks, Susie, for that.
Yeah, and definitely kudos to you. I'm always inspired when men take the initiative or listen to themselves to be able to do the healing that's required for, I think, every single person to do. It's far less common for men to do it. So I just wanted to give that, props to you for being a really good example of being able to be an authentic masculine man and approach these mental health things for your whole holistic health. Mental health and physical health is not separate. Okay, cool. This is really nice. So thanks, Mr. Leon for joining us. We hope you will join us again in the future. Anybody has any comments, questions, concerns, go ahead and message us. You could email us if you want it to be a separate thing. And let us know what you think. Nothing is wrong with you. Stay in the game. Love you all.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah.